first thing I want to say before I even get into this video, because I've received so many questions and I plan on doing a video on my colorways and vinyls and all that stuff in the future, but to answer all of your guys' questions, because so many people asked, I answered most of them, but just in case, this paint is a metal. It's called brass. You unlock it when you get Arcanist Loyalty level 3. You also unlock copper and bronze with it, which are pink metals, if you're into that. I don't think it looks that good on the Colossus. The vinyl is called Reaver. You get it from completing the Challenge of Valor, which is the challenge that unlocks for you after you complete the main storyline of this game. So that was for all you guys that were going to ask the question. Hope that helped. What's going on, guys? It's your boy Haiguh back with another video, but before the video starts, I do want to say some other few things. First off, thank you guys for being so supportive on my recent Anthem videos. I put a lot of time and effort into making them, and thousands of views in mere days is absolutely insane for me, so thank you guys. On top of that, today, the 28th of February, I actually hit 1,000 subscribers. I've been attempting to make videos and making videos since I was about 11 years old. Started off with my phone, just straight up recording my TV. So to be where I am right now and to have the ability to make videos at all is super satisfying. And for 1,000 people to subscribe really does mean a lot. So thank you again for that. As far as the gameplay in the background, some of it is going to be on GM3, as that's mostly what I play when I'm using this build. Also, some of it is going to be from my Twitch stream, so feel free to check me out there. Link will be in the description. Any love would be appreciated. Without further ado, let's get into the video. So today we're going to be talking about another Colossus build. This one is a little different from the previous two, and it's already a pretty popular build. But in case you aren't aware about it, I'm going to talk to you about it today and also give my opinion on it, since a lot of people mentioned it in the previous video, and I think those people assumed that I didn't know about it. But anyways, let's just get into it. The setup we're talking about is pretty much going to be based around the best defense heavy assault launcher. This is the masterworked or legendary version of the siege cannon. A lot of people enjoy using this because of the perk that it gives, which is upon hitting enemies, you gain 35% health back. But on top of that, this is a cannon and it has an AoE. So essentially you can hit 2 to 3 enemies and go right back to full health. The AoE isn't huge, but it's there. I don't want you guys to think you'll be shooting a predator missile at these enemies. There's also a glitch at the moment where you can literally shoot the cannon at the floor, a wall, anything that isn't an enemy, and you will get 35% health back, which is kind of crazy. But don't be surprised if by the time you watch this, it's patched. Now, compared to other heavy assault launchers, this one doesn't have the most DPS by any means, but that's totally understandable, as that'd be kind of OP if it did a ton of damage and gave health back. I'm not saying it's weak, just saying there are alternatives that would do more. It really just depends on the inscriptions you get on it. Because I read some comments on the last video talking about the same build that I was using, but with better inscriptions, and people were hitting more than double what I was hitting. So the same goes for the siege cannon. You can get some real nice damage on it. You just gotta work for it or get lucky. As of when I'm recording this, they released the first patch for crafting today. Masterworks now cost 15 embers to craft instead of 25, and they also made some changes to the inscriptions. I'll put the full patch notes in the description for you to look at if you so choose. Basically, getting better inscriptions should be easier, and no more getting elemental damage on an autocannon or sniper damage on a shotgun. They're also going to be releasing an update that's going to take whites and greens out of the level 30 drop pool, which should hopefully increase the amount of masterworks, legendaries, purples that you guys get once you hit level 30 and are doing GM1 runs and all that stuff. But back to the topic. This launcher is a must if you're planning on running GM2 or higher. Depending on your skill level, you could get away with some other builds on GM2. But if you're looking to be safe, maybe it's your first time, or maybe you're just not too confident, then this launcher is super necessary. On GM3, it's not even a question on what heavy assault launcher to use. If you don't have this, I don't even recommend doing GM3 at all. It's so beneficial and is going to be super helpful since the enemies have a ton of health and do a bunch of damage. The survivability it offers is amazing. Getting into the Ordnance Launcher we're using, I use the firewall mortar. Before I get more into why, I know a lot of people like using it with the shot coil, but for me personally, since I use this on GM3, I'm not trying to get that close to these enemies that have a few million health points, because a freeze or combos don't make too much of a difference. However, speaking of combos, you can combo safely with this build. Like I said, it doesn't help too much damage wise, but combos do feed into your ult charge, so that means it will be faster that you can either ult for damage, ult for invincibility, or get all your health back. And why not put a little extra damage on the enemies, right? What I mean by combo safely is the firewall has a pretty intense range that it can shoot from, and with the cannon, you can pretty much shoot anything in sight. So if there's a group of enemies that is a football field's length away from you, you can pop the mortar for the primer, pop the siege cannon for the detonator to get damage on them and a combo, as well as get health back and ult charge. That sounds pretty damn nice to me. Now, I do use the Masterwork version of the Firewall Mortar. However, this is one of those builds that if you have the purple variation, not too much is changing. The only differences are the perk that the Masterwork gives, which is when you shoot a mortar, if it primes 2 enemies upon landing, you get your shot back, which means if you use it wisely, you could never have a cooldown on it. The other difference is in damage, but you're not going to be using the mortar for damage. At least you shouldn't be. The mortar is a primer that can prime from a long distance and can prime many enemies at once, as it does cover a lot of ground. This isn't going to be your main DPS. Speaking of DPS, though the siege cannon is often used as a support ability to get your health back, you don't need to only use it for health. It's still a decent damage dealer. You will see the inscriptions on mine, and I've hit for up to 20k on weak spots, which isn't a small number at all. So don't rely on it for health only. It's still a heavy assault launcher. As far as components go, you can really play around with most of them. The only component that I would really recommend to have is catalytic overdrive. I believe I talked about this one in the last video. It increases combo damage by 50%, and detonating a combo increases your ability damage by 40%. If you're playing on GM 2 and 3 where the enemies have a massive amount of health, any type of damage increase you can get will definitely help out. And especially since I talked about it earlier, you're going to be comboing people up from a distance to feed that ult charge and also to get that extra damage, so why not put even more additional damage on it? As far as other components, you could use Emblem or Destruction or the purple variation to give you increased blast damage, because the siege cannon does blast damage, but that's entirely up to you. When I use this build, I usually use a stock augment. It's the purple one. It increases my magazine size by 35%, and since I use the endless siege, that can put me up to like 600 bullets, which can really help increase my DPS. But besides catalytic overdrive, honestly, the rest of the components are totally up to you if you want to try it. Also, a tip for Colossus users: if you plan on trying GM3 with this build once you get to a high enough gear score, don't forget to take advantage of your shield, not just for protecting, but the opposite as well. There are certain enemies that when you run into them with the shield, it can knock them down and stagger them. And on GM3, they have a lot of health, so the more you can stagger them, the better. You're not going to be staggering them to do damage to them, but you're essentially putting a big enemy out of action. To give you an example of what I did, there were 3 Scar enemies left on this GM3 legendary contract that I was doing with my friends. 1 hunter and 2 scouts. The hunters already have a ton of health on GM1, so I'm sure you can imagine how bad it was on GM3. I used my shield to run into the scouts repeatedly, knocking them over to prevent them from killing my teammates, so my other 3 teammates could DPS the hunter without worrying about what was behind them. I don't have a list of everything that you can stagger, but imagine pretty much anything that isn't a mini boss or a main boss. If you can play with this build correctly, you could literally never die. Now that's pretty much everything on this build. If you have any questions about it, feel free to drop them in the comments below. Hopefully you guys noticed, but I replied to almost every comment on the last video, and I will try to do the same with this one. I hope I was able to help some of you guys learn about this build if you didn't know about it already, and if you did know about it, possibly enlighten you with the personal ideas and thoughts I have about it. If you found this helpful, a like would be greatly appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more content like this in the future. Oh, and before I forget, I have another build video that I'm going to make in the future, and the idea for the build was actually given to me by one of you guys. So if you guys have any ideas for builds that you'd like to see, or maybe just don't have the tools to try out and would like to see a video on it, let me know in the comment section below. Anyways, it's been your boy Haiguh. Thank you guys again for all the support and for 1,000 subscribers. Hope you guys have a good one. Hope I helped, and I will see you guys in the next video.